Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a story that sits dead center at the intersection of national security, bleeding-edge tech, and, well, your personal privacy. It's a massive, somewhat contradictory, and highly classified deal that went down mostly in the shadows, but make no mistake, its impact is going to be felt in everything from the global economy to the actual smartphone sitting in your pocket. So let's unpack the government's very quiet push to bring artificial intelligence to America's spy agencies. Let's kick things off with a number that is honestly kind of hard to wrap your head around. $9 billion. That is the exact amount the White House just approved in a secret request to modernize their intelligence networks. Just to put that into perspective for a second, $9 billion is more than the entire GDP of some small nations, and all of it is being channeled directly into securing advanced AI chips for the intelligence community. Which naturally leads us to ask a pretty urgent question. Why? Why do agencies like the CIA and the NSA suddenly need this massive, immediate infusion of cash just to stay in the game? Well, what's happening behind those closed doors is that they are dealing with a volume of digital data and highly sophisticated global adversaries that have pushed their current capabilities to the absolute brink. It is forcing a monumental shift in how they do business. Here is how we're going to break this all down today. First, the $9 billion tech problem. Second, the Anthropic paradox. Third, building the spy cloud. Fourth, what it means for you. And fifth, the global ripple effect. All right, let's start with part one, the $9 billion tech problem. To really grasp this existential crisis they're facing, you kind of have to look at how spy agencies actually operate on a daily basis. While you or I can just open up an app on our phones and ask an AI a question, an intelligence analyst absolutely cannot do that. They require top-secret, air-gapped networks. These are isolated computer systems housed in secure facilities, completely, physically disconnected from the public internet. It's the ultimate firewall to prevent hacking and leaks. But here's the catch. That physical isolation creates a massive bottleneck. Picture this. You're sitting in a windowless room, literally drowning in an ocean of intercepted global communications, translated audio files, and high-res satellite imagery. These agencies have all this incredible data, but their legacy closed-off networks simply don't have the raw computing power to run modern frontier AI models. They literally cannot process it fast enough. So they desperately need an upgrade, specifically Nvidia's Grace Blackwell superchips, to comb through all this intelligence locally and securely. Which brings us to part two, the Anthropic paradox. Now, to solve this immediate hardware bottleneck while they wait for those new chips, we run into a really fascinating corporate irony. On one hand, you have the Pentagon officially designating the AI company Anthropic as a national security supply chain threat. Yet, practically in the exact same breath, the White House authorized the NSA to finalize a classified contract with that very same company. They made this paradoxical compromise because Anthropic's new AI model, called Mythos, is incredibly efficient and actually runs perfectly on the older hardware the NSA currently has. And our sources point out a stark disconnect here when you look at the reality versus the PR. The quote says it all. The safety company selling to the spies, their safety memo is whatever the spy shop says it is. Anthropic built a massive public brand almost entirely around this concept of AI safety, right? Yet, their new reality involves building highly capable models for classified spy operations. In fact, these models are reportedly so good at finding and weaponizing cybersecurity vulnerabilities that their wider release has been heavily restricted. Okay, moving right along to part three, building the spy cloud. Let's look at the physical reality of what this money actually buys, because it takes a whole triad of tech giants to make this work. Nvidia is stepping up to supply those highly coveted Grace Blackwell superchips. Anthropic is providing the efficient interim and potentially long-term software. Meanwhile, Amazon Web Services is taking on this monumental $50 billion effort to upgrade the classified government cloud environments. Hardware, software, and cloud infrastructure, they all have to align perfectly for this specific ecosystem to even function. But here's the thing. You can't just take a pallet of Nvidia's superchips and plug them into a standard wall outlet. No way. The agencies have to complete massive specialized infrastructure steps before the technology is even usable. These chips run incredibly hot and draw immense power. They need entirely custom data centers built from scratch, physically separated from unclassified networks. They demand electrical grids that rival small cities, and they need highly specialized liquid cooling setups just to stop the servers from literally melting down. And because building those specialized liquid-cooled data centers takes a lot of time, the administration is actively reprogramming $800 million right now. For those of us outside the government, reprogramming essentially means they are raiding other budgets to find emergency cash today. They're doing this for the immediate, rapid acquisition of computing capacity. It's effectively a giant signal that the intelligence community feels it just cannot afford to wait for that larger $9 billion package to slowly work its way through Congress. So let's get into part 4. What it means for you. What is the actual impact of this massive, multi-billion-dollar tech pivot on the everyday person? Sources draw a pretty severe juxtaposition here. They contrast the absolutely frictionless billions instantly approved for black budget spy chips with the everyday reality of the taxpayers who are actually footing the bill. Just imagine waiting months for a pre-authorized medical procedure because your local hospital's MRI scanner is broken and underfunded. Meanwhile, top-tier surveillance technology gets a VIP fast pass to the front of the line, funded immediately, without any public debate. And beyond that staggering financial cost, there is a profound civil liberties concern regarding how this AI will actually be used. Look at Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. Spies previously had to manually choose a specific target to monitor. Well, advanced AI completely eliminates that constraint. Now it can ingest and analyze everyone's messages simultaneously. An incidental sweep means an innocent text to your family member could be scooped up, analyzed, and permanently stored by an algorithm, without any human oversight at all, creating this massive, comprehensive digital dragnet. This quote from our sources pretty much hits the nail on the head. Make the loophole big enough, the rule disappears. Throwing massive, automated computing power at existing legal loopholes effectively erases the very concept of digital privacy. The immense fear here is that an algorithm, completely devoid of human context or nuance, will inevitably misinterpret an innocent email or text message. Suddenly, ordinary citizens could find themselves placed on automated watch lists based on a machine's miscalculation. It fundamentally alters the fabric of privacy and creates a default state of surveillance for all future generations. Let's wrap things up with part 5, the global ripple effect. Because, the decisions made for these classified networks do not just exist in a vacuum. They directly impact the global economy. AI workloads demand specialized high-bandwidth memory. It's basically the physical lifeblood of artificial intelligence computing. When the government swoops in and buys up massive chunks of it, the global well dries up. Manufacturers are actually redirecting production away from consumer electronics just to serve these AI data centers. Major producers are completely sold out through 2026, and analysts are predicting the shortage will worsen well into 2027. Ultimately, this is a high-stakes geopolitical race. The US has even restricted the export of these exact Nvidia chips to adversaries like China. They are treating AI hardware not just as tech, but as critical national infrastructure. It's viewed as being as vital as a military base. Controlling the chip supply is now equivalent to controlling the future of warfare. And the direct economic result for you? You are absolutely going to see rising prices on everyday electronics, from laptops to smartphones, as all those memory supplies vanish into government data centers. So I'll leave you with this final, provocative thought to chew on. As this $9 billion digital arms race unfolds right in our own backyards, and as AI entirely transforms the intelligence community, we really have to ask ourselves, are we paying for a safer world, or are we simply funding the architecture of our own surveillance? Thanks for joining me on this explainer. It's been a fascinating one. See you next time.